Awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we are going to talk about, again, the jungle of Pandora. Because there are a lot of Pandora boxes out there, and yeah, if you click this video, this means you really want to buy one or you're interested in one and you really no clue what to buy. So in this video we are going to discuss the Pandora Saga 90 game system. Yeah, there are a couple of different versions out there. We have the full device, we have a single player, portable, you name it. There are different form factors of these Pandora boxes. But we're going to talk about the Pandora box game system. Basically what they did is the following thing. Okay, so let's talk about the Pandora Saga 90 game system. What is this system? Basically it's a main board that they put in a plastic casing. Some of the Pandora box arcade machines come with the casing and the main board, some only with the main board. But if you are wondering why they are saying Pandora Saga 3D, because they messed it up. I'm guessing this is just a basic casing they have laying around from the Pandora 3D Saga. That is the, or Saga, I need to pronounce correctly. And what they are just doing is just grabbing a casing, put the main board in this case the Pandora Saga 9D, and they are going to give you a lot of extra stuff to make this more like a game console. Yeah. So what you're going to get is very simple. You're going to get a power supply. It depends a little bit where you buy it. Some are just giving you the basic 12 volt. This is more like the other version where you need to put a cable at the other side. Here we have the HDMI cable, same story. I got the deluxe edition. I really like this one, the woven version, very nice quality. Sometimes you're just going to get a cheap version. We're having the controller, of course, and we're having the on-and-off switch. And you're thinking the on-and-off switch, yes, I'm going to show you why. Because if you plug it in like this, it doesn't boot up. So what you're going to need to do is put in the cable over here in this connector and turn it on. That's what you need to do for getting ready. So if you want to assemble it in your Pandora, let's say arcade machine, or in your portable Pandora 2-player version, it's possible because it has the original EDA connector over here. But we're not going to use it. We're going to use it like this. If it comes to the controllers, I just need to warn you a little bit. So first of all, you're having the PlayStation ripoff. This is basically just a PlayStation 2 controller ripoff, and I must say they are not bad. We're having different versions. This is a single player version. We also have the 2-player version that has basically one wire and 2 controllers, and we're having the wireless that comes with a little dongle, 1 dongle, 2 controllers. Also we're having this controller. Some of these Pandora game systems give you this controller, or Sal's giving you the controller with the system. And I can tell you, if you see this, oh, run away, avoid this, because this thing is freaking horrible. Horrible D-pad, you can already hear it. It got some extra features like some extra buttons like turbo, you can go to the setting menu, you name it, but these things are pretty crap. So if you see this, avoid it. Alright, so let's talk about the Pandora mainboard. So as you can see, we're having 2 USB connections, but there is a catch. Yes, you can't use both of these USB controllers, or better said, if you connect your controller, it doesn't recognize both of them if you put one controller on each port. You're going to need to use, if I'm saying it correctly, the top port, and you're going to need a USB hub, or you're going to grab, let's say, if you buy the version with 2 controllers and 1 wire. That's the reason why they're having 1 USB connection with 2 controllers, the same for the dongle. So the top version you need to use. We're having the settings. If you want to adjust, for example, the difficulty, we're going to show you in the video later on. Volume controls over here. We're having audio out, so if you want external speakers, you can use this. If you want to have a VGA monitor, you can connect it through the VGA port. HDMI, it goes up to 720p, and here we're having the input for the 12 volts. It's just a basic 12 volt, so if you don't have the right power supply, or you want to use a different one, it's very simple, 12 volt, pretty basic. And you know, don't forget to use the little button, otherwise it doesn't boot up. Alright, so it's powering on. It takes a couple of seconds, let's say around 20 seconds to boot up. Alright, I connected the controller, everything. I must say it's really plug and play. So when you're connecting the controller itself in the right port, it recognizes the controller and it works without any hassle. So that's pretty cool, to be honest. So that is something I really like about it. The controller itself is pretty cool and it works very well. So when going up and down, you can see you go to the next game and it will change this little picture. Pressing left and right, you can go to the next page. We're having 270 pages, so we need it. But there is something else. There's something else that I did notice with the controller. When you're pressing the number 3 button, you can see we have the search option. With number 4 we're going back, and pressing the number 2 we're going to the last played. So it can be me, but I did a review about the Pandora Saga 9D with the let's say the plug and play 2-play arcade stick, but I couldn't find these options. So or I did something wrong in the video, or it's just basically not compatible when you're not using a controller. So very positive, we have a search function now, so that is very cool. Alright, so I promised you to show you the settings menu, the EO testing. So far I know you cannot use it because this is only from when you're putting this thing in a main board or in an arcade stick with the EDA connection. We have custom buttons, and this is something that is very interesting. And I'm going to try to get in the menu. Need to press number 1 for it. And as you can see, we can adjust the joystick. That is something I've never seen before in previous models. And keep in mind, when you're adjusting this, the only thing that you adjust is basically you map the buttons for every single game. So that is a little bit of a downside. So if you change it here, you would change it for every single game. Alright, let's go back. Let's press start and it saves, as you can see. And we can go back. Okay, take some time. Alright, system settings. As you can see over here, this is something that is very cool. If you put this thing in a main board, or this main board inside an arcade stick, you can say, alright, I want to activate both IDE connections, and we can play together with your friends in 4-player mode with 2 controllers and the arcade stick. We're going to do it in a different video. We can turn off the quality optimization, for example. I really hate it because it makes it a little bit looking weird. We can, inside speaker is only when you're having an inside speaker, of course. So that's it. You can change the language, but there is only English and some Asian languages. That's it. Save, go back, and let's check the game list. So let's talk about the game list itself. I will not show you the full list because it is pretty pointless. It is freaking long. I will say there are 2,700 games, but this is more like they're being naughty. They're being very naughty. Simply because there are, let's say, there are some PlayStation 1 games. They say there are 3-dimensional games. There are quite some good games on it. But if you look at all the other lists, it's just one big mess. They did a great job with the 4-player, 3-player mode, so you know exactly which game supported if you want to play with more than 2 players. So that's a positive thing. But going back to the first pages, you can see there are a lot of double games. You can see already a couple of them. But there are even some pages that are full of simply one game that have been adjusted. Let's see, there's Street Fighter games. As you can see over here, we're having one page of freaking a lot of games that are basically the same. So that is a little bit of a problem. The question of course remains, how are the games running? Not too long. But as you can see already with the title screen, it runs like shit. So that is a little bit of a downside. We're going to tear down this thing because I want to know what's inside. I just wanted to show you and how you're going back to the main menu. It's very simple. Alright, let's start the game. We're pressing the select button. They didn't mess it up this time, so you can just go to the main menu and select your different game. And you don't need to get out of your couch. So what you can find on these boxes are basically hacked games or hacked version where you can play with the final boss. Runs like a charm. Alright, so we're going to take a close look at the main board itself, because there's quite some new things going on with this. So first of all, they are using the brand new little cooling element with this tiny new fan. I must say, they are not very loud nowadays, so I'm very pleased with it. Just basic aluminum, or it's not copper, so it will give you good cooling, but at the end, of course, the induction is the most important thing. We're going to remove the little cooler, because I'm very curious what kind of chipset they are using on the Pandora 90. Are they still using this old crappy versions, or is this just a new generation of mainboards? So that's something we need to figure out. And always the last freaking pin doesn't come out. Okay, thank you. Oh my god, they're not even using a cooling pad, they're using this. Yeah, there's a cooling pad, but I personally prefer something else, like the real cooling paste. Alright, so let's zoom a little bit in. And sadly, my friends, they are using, I hope you can see it over here, the H3 winner. So this is quite an old, very old chipset. And here we can see that has only one RAM chip. So I'm guessing they are just let's see, what's the code number of this thing? I'm guessing they are using 1 gigs of RAM. So in general, if you need to compare this, you need to compare this with, let's say, the old key, Pandora key version quite some time ago. So sadly, if it comes to the performance, it will explain basically everything, because it's just an all-winner H3 and that is pretty old. New generation, still old PCB board. Very naughty. Alright, so this is what we're going to get with the Pandora 9D, or Pandora Saga 9D. So the collection itself, it's not the best collection I've seen. A lot of games, a lot of double games. I really like the hacked version where you can play with the final boss, for example. But alright, so if I look at this Pandora box, this Pandora Saga. So the collection, it's not the best. But if you look at, for example, and this very important, the emulation itself. The emulator running on the back end are not perfect on this device. I see a lot of screen tearing, but I personally don't mind it. But if you look at how the music sounds, it's pretty awful. For example, Blood Bros, I can hear it runs a little bit slower and I'm missing sound effects. And Cabal, for example, it sounds pretty horrible. Sound effects are all messed up. So that is something you need to consider with this Pandora box. Not the best one I've reviewed, and with the controllers, keep in mind, you're stuck with the Chinese version. You can't use the Xbox 360, for example, or on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, or whatsoever.